Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Genshin review. I know that I've been farming these quite a lot lately, but I swear I have other stuff planned. But today, we are taking a look at the 2.4 Abyss that dropped a few days ago, around a week actually, and more. We're reviewing it, and I'm doing this kind of late because, to be honest, every single time the Abyss resets, and new stuff comes out, opinions need to mature, and strats need to be found in order to beat the Abyss. Because when on the first day, it's usually either a Abyss is super easy or the Abyss is super hard, and then it actually turns out to be kind of fine. But this Abyss is, in my opinion, pretty cancer. Not necessarily in terms of full-on difficulty. It's just lazy, lazy choices for monsters, and it's not that good, I think. So I mean, let's start. Floor 9 and 10 we're gonna mostly skim through. They're the same as before. It is the electro effect thingy for floor 9, with the same monsters present. It's pretty fine for experienced players. That clear floor 12 is going to be a cakewalk, just like for me. For newer players into the Abyss, it's fine. If I'm honest, I kind of prefer it over floor 9 or 10 around a year ago with sheer cold that was present and some other cancer effects that were on. You just needed so much pyro there because every enemy was full of cryo. So yeah, I think this is fine. To be honest, even for newer players, just tank it. Bring yourself a fine healer, any healer actually, Bennett, Chi-Chi, anyone. You'll easily be able to tank these electric shocks that you'll get every here and there, and don't be afraid of stepping outside of the arena. It won't hurt you at all unless you're seriously underleveled. So yeah, nothing much for floor 9. Floor 10 again one is the same, with the one monster, one enemy that is always the leader and has some extra resistances. So for older players, once again, it's pretty easy. You can easily just kill the leader because you just have so much damage. A Hu Tao team will just destroy them. And for newer players, of course, just try to pick up the other enemies that are buffing the leader and then go for the leader themselves. They are kind of spread out. So the characters that I would suggest, of course, are Venti, Kazuha. Even Diluc can be good with his manipulation of movement of the enemies, because his ultimate will pull enemies towards one side and help you clear them faster. I know these are all 5 stars, but there aren't many 4 stars that will allow you to do this. Sucrose has very low AoE on her pulling abilities, so she won't be able to, gather the other enemies that are buffing. But actually, someone like the Traveler, the Anemo Traveler, with their ultimate, with the Tornado, could actually help you with that. So yeah, if you're having a bit of problems, once again, focus the smaller enemies first, then the leader, and try to find a character that can deal some very good AoE and pull enemies together. Even taunts might be able to do that. And the last tip really for floor 10, the third chamber has the Lector and the Herald. So on the first half, bring something that is good against Electro. So you can bring Hydro, Pyro, or Cryo, of course, against the Lector. And then for the second half, I would suggest mostly Cryo to deal with the Abyss Herald, the Wicked Torrents, because you can easily just freeze them. Just don't bring someone like Chongyun, because he can break the frozen effect, and Derager Shatter, which isn't something you want against the Herald. Kaeya, Rosaria, Ayaka, of course, everybody can easily deal with this guy and permafreeze him. So then, we move on to the new floors, which are floor 11 and floor 12. Now, for floor 11, the buff that is present is a normal attack damage buff, and it's fine. It is meant to be mostly for Yoimiya and also for the characters that the new Shenhe and Yunjin buff. So Yoimiya and someone like Ayaka, or Ganyu not so much, because Shenhe is mostly a cryo damage buffer. So it's mostly for Yunjin teams. So yeah, only Yoimiya really fully benefits from this, but your other characters will also be fine with the extra normal attack damage bonus. My child will deal more damage, Ayaka will deal more damage, Huta will do a bit more damage through her normal attacks that she weaves in before the charge attack. You know, and plenty of other characters like even Diluc, who does the E to hit thing, will also benefit a bit. So yeah, it's a fine buff. It won't be so much noticeable on most of the cast, but it's pretty much fine. I mean, physical damage characters will also benefit from this, so hey, again, it's a fine enough thing. Thankfully, it is a buff compared to something like a debuff that used to be, once again, around a year ago on the floor 11, so hey. So let's tackle the first chamber for the first half, and the first chamber also, before we get to enemies. It is a monument, a monolith or whatever they call it, protection thingy. So you're going not against time. You need to protect the monolith so that it doesn't drop below a certain percentage of health. This one isn't all that hard, I would say. Perhaps again for newer players or less powerful players, it might be a bit problematic, and that is mostly because of the first half, I would say. The first half of the first chamber has ruin enemies, and it has the smaller ruin enemies, not ruin guards. It has cruisers and destroyers. And the thing with these guys is that they can just unleash attacks on the monument, on the monolith, that you just cannot stop. Especially, I think one of these does that sort of rain attack with the bullets that just cannot be stopped, basically. So it's very annoying. But they are kind of low level, thankfully, and they only spawn 2 at a time. There are only 4 enemies, 2 at a time. So the the recommended one is something like a freeze team. Freeze them, they won't attack, their attacks won't go through even if they have started them, and that will easily defeat them. I don't know if taunts will really work on it. If they have already started that attack, that rain attack, something like Mona's taunt or Ito's bull will not cancel it. So yeah, it's fine. Again, 2 at a time helps, but because they're immune to CC, only a freeze team is the most recommended one, or of course, just kill them before they deal damage to the monument. So yeah. For the second half, there's plenty of Electro enemies. There's an Electro Abyss Mage and a Thunder Helm Lava Churl. So bring yourself something like Cryo or Pyro. Be careful a bit with Pyro if Overload deals damage to the Monolith. But if it doesn't, you can easily bring something like a Hydro and Pyro team to trigger Overload and deal some extra damage to the Lava Churl especially. So Huta will work perfectly. Diluc also will work, these kind of pyro teams with Xingqiu. But yeah, don't be so much afraid of the Electro Abyss Mage or the Lava Churl. The Lava Churl can deal lots of damage, but I think you can kind of easily get his aggro. The smaller enemies might be a bit more problematic, but again, crowd control, Sucrose in this one will work better, but Kazra and Venti will easily destroy them. For the Abyss Mage, I've noticed that there's no way to really stop his first attack, because you can't also freeze him or stun lock him through stagger, which you can do with the Lava Churl. For the Electro Abyss Mage, I've always kind of seen that he always teleports in the middle and starts that ring attack, which is pretty annoying because it's always a hit that the Monolith will always take. But the good thing is that the ring will actually not continuously hit the Monolith, thankfully. It will only pass once, deal that initial damage, and thankfully it's, again, not touching the Monolith thing. It isn't touching the ring exactly, so no continuous damage. If you don't kill the Abyss Mage quickly, or you do not destroy his shield quickly, just be careful that once he teleports, you're not close to the Monolith, so that the ring doesn't hit if he does the same attack again. But overall, it's a fine enough monolith defense, not the worst one, but again, newer players might have a bit of a hard time, but I think that more, if your teams are nice and capable enough, or of especially reaching floor 12 easily, you won't have much of a problem. The second chamber First half has a lot of Electro and Pyro enemies, so bring something that isn't Pyro or Electro, bring Hydro and Cryo. There are Pyro Spectres and Slimes, Electro Spectres and Slimes. These actually spawn in waves of 3, with with one big slime and 2 Spectres, with the Slimes also carry auras on them, the Pyro aura and the Electro aura. So yeah, this might be a bit annoying actually, because you're going to need to disperse of them really quickly because they spawn on other sides of the arena. So yeah, once again, recommended Kazuha, Vendi, Sucrose, because that will at least bring the slime together with the Spectres, because those are immune. But still, if you bring Hydro or Cryo, Child and Ayaka deal very well with them. Xingqiu can do well, but if you're bringing Xingqiu, you're most likely bringing in someone like, a Pyro carry, so that won't be good. So yeah, Hydro Cryo is the recommended one. You can also bring in a physical damage comp. Geo team will also do well. Anemo team will do finely. Xiao can easily do well. Physical will do well, but you might have a bit of a problem on the first chamber with the ruin enemies, because they have high resistances to physical damage. So yeah, it's fine. Again, a bit annoying how they spawn in waves and in different sides, although the last wave is 2 waves together, so again, might be annoying on the time. The second half of the second chamber is Hydro Zoo. This one is pretty annoying, but most teams will be able to defeat them easily. Every team basically, except for a full-on Hydro team or Hydro DPS team, which is basically only Child, will be able to defeat the Hydro Mimics. Cryo is the best one, I would suggest, because it stops these enemies from attacking, and something like the crabs or the ducks, because they have like some passive attacks, especially the ducks with their thingy that is close to them. Cryo will actually stop these, so that's fine. You might want to bring something like a good healer like Bennett or Chi-Chi, who also brings Cryo, or bring yourself someone like a shielder. Toma will do finely. Of course, Zhongli. Diona will also do perfectly with her Cryo Shield and her Cryo. She just brings Cryo on. The ultimate will do very well. But yeah, a Pyro team will easily destroy these things because of Vaporize. A Cryo team will easily disable these mimics. There's also birds, the flying birds, the crows, or whatever the heck they call them. I think finch here. They are kind of annoying, so do bring a character that can actually hit in the air. Most will be able to do that. If you bring Zhongli, basically everyone will be able to do. If you see in the background footage, I did bring Zhongli, and Zhongli just put down a pillar and Ito defeated the bird. But also Zhongli's burst can also hit them. Plenty of bursts can hit it. But yeah, so be careful with the birds on the first phase if you bring a character that cannot hit them. But yeah, it's Hydro Zoo. It's annoying, but most teams will be able to defeat it. Now comes the third chamber, and this is the very noticeable one. So, first half has a Mirror Maiden and 2 Kairagis. They all spawn together, and they're just tanks. That's mostly it. Be sure to defeat the Kairagi either instantly, defeat one instantly so that the other one doesn't heal up, or defeat them together so that the other one, the one left, doesn't heal up. The Mirror Maiden is just a fucking tank, she's thick AF, so just bring tons of damage, and that's the only problem with this chamber and its half. It's just their tanks. Nothing interesting, and yeah. The second half, though, is the very annoying one. It's the Thunder Manifestation, the Electro Cyanid, and for this one, the only super recommended team is Hu Tao. She is the queen of this abyss because she just deletes bosses. So yeah, the Thunder Manifestation can be very, very annoying to deal with. And yeah, if you have a Hydro team that can easily defeat the Thunder Manifestation, you're going to have plenty of trouble with the Hydro Zoo. I suggest that you tackle floor 11 if you can't 9-star it in 2 times. Once, bring in a team that will get you 6 stars on the first chamber and the second chamber, and then switch them around and don't care about chamber 1 and chamber 2 and focus on chamber 3. If you have a team that can defeat the Thunder Manifestation but won't do well on the other chambers, then again, like, switch them around on your second try and focus only on chamber 3. And that's the same really with floor 12, but it can wait. So for Thunder Manifestation, it's very annoying. It moves a lot, it has a lot of movement, and it also just doesn't stop attacking. I suggest not bringing Bennett actually, because his pyro field might overload you a lot with these things attacks and just throw you and stun lock you. So be careful if you bring a Bennett. Else, of course, just bring a Shielder, bring Toma, bring Diona, or bring, of course, the man himself, Zhongli, and you should be good against the Thunder Manifestation. Like, carries that can deal well with it are most of them. I don't think that any will have much of a problem. Xiao can deal with it if his plunge attacks hit it, even if it moves a lot. Hu Tao, of course. Ganyu might, with Ganyu you might need a bit of a good aim to hit this thing. And yeah, most of them will. Even Diluc will hit him. Like, most of carries will deal well with Thunder Manifestation. Just don't bring someone like Raiden, because this thing is Electro, of course. So yeah, annoying. Very annoying, because the first half is full of tanky enemies, and then the second half is this annoying boss. But Floor 11 isn't exactly fully annoying, and the normal attack damage buff is fine enough for most teams and perfect for Yoimiya, although Yoimiya might have a bit of a problem. If you're thinking of bringing Yoimiya for the Thunder Manifestation, you might have a bit of a problem against the Hydro Zoo, because there are like tons of enemies and Yoimiya is mostly single target. And then, I mean, she will do fine on the monolith defense. Now then, we move on to floor 12, and the big one, of course, the important one. Floor 12 introduces a new debuff, Leyline Disorder as it's called. It's called Honed Spirit, where just like the leader in floor 10, a specific enemy or two enemies at most have this effect called Honed Spirit, which increases their resistances. And if you deal normal attacks, if normal attacks hit and you deal normal attack damage specifically, as the effect describes, on this enemy, the resistances will slowly drop, but after a while they will reset back. If I'm honest, I didn't notice this effect at all. Like, I could see that the enemy had it, and I could see a notification where it said that the Honed Spirit effect has resetted, but I never noticed that I dealt significantly less damage. I mean, I do use Child, Ayaka, and Hu Tao, which means that I always do use normal attacks, so it isn't that much noticeable with teams like this one. Even Diluc, who cycles through skill and on normal attacks, will also do fine. Other more quick swap teams might have a bit of a problem, where you need to weave in a few normal attacks to reduce these resistances before you throw in all of your bursts and such to deal, your DPS cycle. So it's not a crazy debuff for damage, but do be a bit careful if you see that you're not dealing all that well with Honed Spirit enemies. Now then, the first chamber is okay. The first half is the Perpetual Mechanical Array, PMA. It is kind of cancer to deal with this one, but if you just don't bring a physical damage a team like Eula or Razor, you should be fine against it. Just be careful to bring a team that can generate like their cooldowns or energy if needed, when needed, because the PMA will go into the state where you need to defeat one of the Ruin enemies, and you need to defeat the Ruin enemy quickly and then also defeat the PMA quickly, because when it is down, it takes extra damage. So yeah, if you're bringing something like Ayaka, bring a cryo battery to easily battery Ayaka's burst, so that you can easily kill the Ruin enemy and then use another burst on the PMA itself. Hu Tao, of course, is perfect against it because it's a boss and Hu Tao will just delete it, so yeah. And the second half has the dogs, has some Geo dogs, and then a few Pyro enemies, a Pyro Beast Mage, and the new Pyro Lecter. The dogs are a bit annoying. But if you bring a healer, you should be fine. If you're planning to bring in the Ito Geo team, please be careful to have Goro C4, because else you might have a bit of trouble against the dogs. I mean, you also might have a bit of trouble against the Pyro Lecter. So yeah, there's a Pyro Lecter here. Hydro is recommended. You can bring in Cryo or Electro, but Hydro is the best one. Child will do finely. Xingqiu will do finely. Ayaka with Cryo, Kaeya, and everybody, the classic counters. The guy isn't all that annoying. Again, just bring a healer to take care of the dogs, and maybe the Pyro Electors burn aura. But yeah, it's fine. PMA can be pretty annoying if you don't have a team that can do well against bosses, but I mean, this is the whole thing about this abyss. It's full of bosses, and it is pretty cancer if you don't have crazy single target damage, or really, let's say, quick damage, because these bosses can enter phases where they don't take damage or they take less damage. And if you don't have teams that can easily get their DPS cycle back up, which is, the Hu Tao team does well, you might have a bit of a problem. But yeah, the second half of the first chamber is fine. Bring in Hydro. Second chamber, first half is the Primordial Vishap. So for this one, you might need to bring in a good shielder. Once again, Toma, Diona, Xinyan, or of course the man himself, Zhongli, will do finely against the Geovishap. The Hu Tao team, of course, because it has Zhongli, will also destroy the Primo Geovishap. And yeah, if you don't have a shielder, just be careful when it does the shower attack. It might really hurt your time, because the Geovishap and the shower deflect that you can reflect that you can do with the shield can seriously damage it. So your timer might really hurt. And then the second half has 2 Hydro Heralds. So bring in Cryo. Mostly, you bring in Hydro for the Pyro Lecter on the first half, and then it's like, here's Hydro Heralds, because fuck you. So Cryo is your best choice, Electro as well. Yeah, they are very annoying. I know that they bring the first half of the first chamber, the second half of the first chamber has something that can easily be countered, that its counter is Hydro, and then the second chamber has something that Hydro is useless against. Very annoying, seriously annoying. But if you bring in a Cryo character like Ayaka and Kai and everybody, you should be fine on both chambers. Yeah, another boss and another Herald Lector chamber, annoying, but what can you do? And that's why I'm saying that this Abyss rotation is very lazy and annoying. And the last chamber of floor 12-3. The first half has Ruin Guards and Ruin Graders. They spawn in 2 waves of 2. So don't bring physical attackers. I mean, the PMA is also on the first chamber, so you kind of naturally won't bring a physical damage team. So yeah, they're fine. The Ruin Guards, Ruin Graders, we've seen them again in the last chamber of floor 12. They're fine. I don't think they have the Geo Aura. They have Honed Spirit. So yeah, you can easily deal with them. Most teams will just destroy them. And the second half of the third chamber of floor 12 is Magukenki. He is very annoying. He finally moved up a chamber, which means he is even more tanky, which is crazy annoying. And as you can see, they did the bullshit thing where the other 2 chambers have the bosses on the first half, and then the third chamber has the boss on the second half. Very annoying. Extremely annoying. And not only that, Magukenki is Cryo, so I think he doesn't have Cryo resistances, but annoying, because the best characters for the other chamber second halves are Cryo characters, so congratulations, MiHoYo, you fucking cunts. So yeah, wow. So just like floor 11, as I said, the best way to tackle floor 12 is to bring in a team that deals extremely well with bosses. Hu Tao is the best one. And bring that team on the first half, on your first try of the Abyss. And then once you're done, switch those teams around. Don't give a fuck about the other chambers, and then focus on the third chamber where Magu Genki is on the second half. So yeah, that's Abyss. That's the new Abyss 2.4. The buff that is now active and is going to switch in a bit is something to do with normal, like if your normal charged and plunging attacks like hit multiple enemies, I think that's what it is right now, you'll gain a bit of an attack buff. I won't be doing reviews again with the other buffs because most of the time, if I'm honest, the buffs don't change all that much with the Abyss. And, you know, the difficulty doesn't change. If the enemies don't change and the buff changes, the difficulty of the Abyss doesn't change all that much. For newer players and less powerful players, the buff might, you know, give you the chance to finish the Abyss or 36-star the Abyss, but for more experienced players with more powerful teams, you won't notice this buff specifically or the other ones that are coming. So this Abyss is lazily designed, lazily put together with just randomly thrown in bosses, you know, and as I know from leaks, this won't change, so be prepared to face the doggy boss in 2-3 cycles of the Abyss. So yeah, annoying, again, lazily put together. I don't like it. Honed Spirit is and yeah. So that is it from me. I'll see you all in the next video. Please do, like and subscribe as always. See ya.